There are relationships that make people curious, and then there are relationships that make people uncomfortable. A man in his 60s walks into a cafe with a woman in her 30s. Before either of them says a word, strangers have already created a story about them. Some think they know exactly why she's there. Others assume they know exactly what he's getting from it. But here's the question almost nobody asks. What if everyone is looking at the wrong person? Because sometimes the greatest mystery isn't why an older man falls in love with a younger woman, it's why she stays. If these conversations make you question what people really feel beneath the surface, stay with me. And if you've been searching for honest discussions instead of easy answers, consider subscribing, not because I want another number, but because some truths deserve a place where they're explored without judgment. Now, I want you to forget the internet for a moment. Forget the headlines. Forget the jokes. Forget the comments filled with certainty from people who have never spent 5 minutes inside someone else's relationship. Instead, imagine you're sitting across from me. No audience, no opinions, just honesty. Over the years, I've listened to women describe relationships they were almost afraid to admit they were happy in. Not because the relationship was unhealthy, but because they knew what people would assume the moment they mentioned his age. Many of them didn't begin by saying, "He's 30 years older." They began with something much quieter. "I finally feel calm." That sentence always made me pause, because calm isn't exciting. It doesn't create dramatic stories. It doesn't go viral. But psychologically, calm is often one of the rarest emotions people experience in relationships. You see, attraction isn't only about appearance. It isn't only about chemistry, and it certainly isn't identical for every woman. Human beings don't choose partners from one universal checklist. We respond to personality, emotional history, life stage, shared values, physical attraction, confidence, humor, security, curiosity, timing, and dozens of other factors that shift from one person to another. That's why two women can meet the exact same man and have completely different emotional reactions. One feels nothing, another feels understood for the first time in years. People struggle with that idea because certainty feels safer than complexity. It's easier to believe every relationship has one explanation. Reality rarely works that way. Now, let's imagine a woman who's spent years dating men her own age. She's laughed, she's fallen in love, she's been disappointed. She's watched conversations become competitions, promises disappear, emotional games replace honesty. Again, this isn't every younger man, not even close, but it has been her experience. Experience shapes expectation. Eventually, she meets someone decades older. She doesn't expect anything. Actually, she's almost suspicious. She assumes they'll have nothing to talk about. Different music, different memories, different lives. She expects awkward silence. Instead, he asks her questions, real questions, and something unusual happens. He actually waits for her answer. You'd be surprised how emotionally powerful that feels. Not because older men are magically better listeners. They're not. Many aren't. But some people become better listeners simply because life has taught them the cost of speaking without understanding. There's a difference. Years alone don't create wisdom. Reflection does. And reflection often changes the way someone loves. The woman notices little things. He doesn't panic when she takes an hour to reply. He doesn't create unnecessary drama to test her feelings. He isn't trying to impress everyone in the room. His confidence doesn't feel loud. It feels settled. Psychologically, that can create a feeling many women describe with the same word: safe. Be careful with that word. People often misunderstand it. Safe doesn't mean she thinks he'll never make mistakes. Safe doesn't mean she agrees with everything he says. Safe means her nervous system isn't constantly preparing for emotional chaos. There's an enormous difference. Many people mistake intensity for intimacy. They're addicted to uncertainty, the late-night arguments, the disappearing acts, the emotional roller coaster. It feels passionate until it becomes exhausting. Then one day, calm arrives. And instead of feeling boring, it feels like relief. That's something very few people outside the relationship ever see. Because outsiders notice birthdays. She notices how she sleeps better. Outsiders notice grey hair. She notices that conversations don't leave her questioning her worth. Outsiders count years. She measures peace. Now, none of this means every large age gap relationship is healthy. Some aren't. Some involve control. Some involve imbalance. Some don't last. Just like relationships between people the same age. Age alone never predicts emotional health. Character does. Emotional maturity does. Mutual respect does. And that's where this conversation becomes much more uncomfortable. Because if a woman continues choosing to stay, even after the excitement fades, even after reality replaces fantasy, then maybe the answer isn't sitting in the number between their birthdays. Maybe it's hidden somewhere much deeper than everyone is willing to look. That's the part people rarely talk about. Staying is completely different from falling. Almost anyone can fall in love under the right circumstances. A rush of chemistry, a beautiful conversation, perfect timing, loneliness meeting kindness. Those moments happen every day. But staying is what reveals the emotional architecture of a relationship. I've noticed something interesting when women describe the man they continue choosing years later. They almost never begin with his appearance. They don't start by saying, he's handsome. They don't even start by saying, he's successful. They say things like, I don't feel like I'm performing around him. Think about that sentence for a moment. So many people enter relationships carrying invisible costumes. They try to become the version of themselves they believe will be loved. They laugh a little louder. They hide the parts that seem too emotional. They apologize for needing reassurance. They quietly wonder if they're becoming too much or not enough. It's exhausting. Eventually, pretending starts to feel heavier than loneliness. Then she meets someone who doesn't reward the performance. He responds to the person underneath it. That changes something deep inside her, because genuine acceptance doesn't create fireworks. It creates exhaling. I once spoke with a woman who described it in a way I've never forgotten. She said, when I was younger, I thought love was supposed to make my heart race. Now I know real love lets my shoulders relax. What a remarkable difference. Your body often recognizes emotional safety before your mind has words for it. Have you ever noticed how some conversations leave you strangely tired? Nothing dramatic happened, no argument, no shouting, yet afterward you feel emotionally drained. Now compare that with someone whose presence makes time disappear. You don't monitor every sentence, you don't replay every joke wondering if it sounded stupid, you simply exist. That feeling matters more than people realize, especially for a woman who has spent years questioning herself inside previous relationships. Again, this isn't about older men being superior. Please don't misunderstand me. Some older men carry unresolved anger, bitterness, or emotional immaturity for decades. Time doesn't automatically soften people, sometimes it hardens them. But when a man has truly reflected on his life, when he has learned from regret instead of hiding from it, his emotional rhythm often changes. He no longer needs every disagreement to become a battle. He no longer mistakes control for leadership. He becomes less interested in winning and more interested in understanding. That shift is incredibly attractive, not because of his age, but because emotional steadiness is surprisingly rare. Now imagine what this feels like from her perspective. She comes home after a difficult day. She's frustrated. Maybe she doesn't even know why. She isn't looking for someone to solve everything. She simply wants someone who can sit beside her discomfort without becoming uncomfortable himself. Many people don't realize how healing that can feel. Some people rush to fix your emotions because your emotions make them anxious. Others quietly stay present. There's a world of difference. Presence communicates something words often cannot. It says, I'm not afraid of your humanity. For many women, that's unforgettable. You see, attraction evolves. The things that capture our attention aren't always the things that keep our hearts. Early attraction often asks, how exciting is this person? Long-term attachment asks, who am I becoming beside this person? Those are completely different questions. If she notices she's becoming calmer, more confident, less defensive, more honest, she begins associating that emotional growth with the relationship itself. Not because he changed her, because the environment allowed parts of her to emerge that were always there. Healthy relationships don't erase your personality. They create enough emotional safety for it to breathe. That's why outsiders can become so confused. They evaluate the relationship using visible facts. The couple evaluates it using invisible experiences. The public notices birthdays. She notices consistency. The public notices wrinkles. She notices reliability. The public notices photographs. She remembers hundreds of ordinary evenings where she never had to wonder whether she mattered. Those quiet moments rarely appear on social media, yet they're often the strongest glue holding two people together. And here's another uncomfortable truth. Many women eventually become less interested in being constantly impressed and more interested in feeling emotionally understood. Being impressed fades, understanding deepens. Being admired feels wonderful, feeling known transforms you. But this is where the conversation becomes even more complicated, because there is one emotional need that many people overlook completely. It isn't money, it isn't status, it isn't even romance. It's something far quieter, something most people don't recognize until they've lived without it for years. And once a woman experiences that feeling consistently, leaving becomes much harder than anyone on the outside could ever imagine. That feeling is emotional trust. Not the kind you announce, not the kind you post about, the quiet kind, the kind that slowly builds after dozens, then hundreds of ordinary moments. People often imagine trust is created by grand gestures, a dramatic promise, a life-changing sacrifice, one unforgettable act that proves everything. Real trust rarely works that way. It grows in silence. It grows when someone says they'll call, and they do. When they apologize without needing to be cornered. When their mood doesn't determine whether they're kind to you. When their affection doesn't disappear the moment life becomes stressful. None of those moments are exciting, but together they become something incredibly powerful. Imagine a woman who spent years in relationships where she never quite knew what version of her partner she would meet. One day he was affectionate, the next day he was distant. One week he talked about the future, the following week he acted like commitment was a burden. Nothing was certain. She learned to read tiny changes, his tone, his facial expression, the speed of his replies, whether he used a period at the end of a text. She became an expert at predicting emotional weather. Do you know what that does to a person? It keeps the nervous system on alert. You stop relaxing. You stop feeling secure. Without realizing it, you become someone who's always preparing for disappointment. Now imagine stepping into a relationship where that constant guessing slowly disappears. Not overnight. Trust never appears overnight. It arrives one ordinary day at a time. At first, she almost doesn't believe it. She waits for the hidden catch. She's convinced something will eventually go wrong because that's what experience has taught her. When nothing dramatic happens, she becomes suspicious. Ironically, stability can feel unfamiliar to someone who's lived with emotional unpredictability. Sometimes people mistake peace for boredom simply because chaos feels more familiar. I've seen this more times than I can count. A woman tells herself, "Something feels different." She can't explain it. Nothing spectacular is happening. They're grocery shopping together, talking over dinner, watching a movie, driving without speaking for 20 minutes. And somehow, those ordinary moments begin healing something she didn't realize had been hurting. Because healthy love isn't built only during exciting weekends. It's built on ordinary Tuesdays. It's built while folding laundry, making coffee, waiting in traffic, sharing silence without feeling the need to fill every second. Many people underestimate silence. Comfortable silence is one of the rarest forms of intimacy. When two people no longer feel pressured to entertain each other, they begin experiencing each other. That difference matters. Now, let's talk about something men rarely hear. Many women don't stay because they found someone perfect. Perfection is exhausting. Perfection creates pressure. What they often stay for is emotional predictability. Notice I didn't say predictability in routine, I mean predictability in character. She knows how he'll respond when she's anxious. She knows how he'll react when she succeeds. She knows disagreements won't suddenly become emotional warfare. That certainty becomes incredibly valuable, especially as life becomes more complicated. Because life eventually tests every relationship. Health changes, parents grow older, careers shift, dreams evolve. Attraction alone cannot carry people through those seasons. Character can. And here's where an older man's life experience can sometimes make a meaningful difference, not because of his age itself, but because of what he has done with those years. If he spent decades avoiding responsibility, learning nothing, blaming everyone else, his age adds very little. But if those years have taught him patience, perspective, humility, then she's not responding to the number on his driver's license. She's responding to the emotional presence standing in front of her. Those are completely different things. This is why outsiders often misunderstand these relationships. They assume she's choosing a lifestyle. Meanwhile, she may feel she's choosing emotional consistency. They assume she's attracted to security. She may simply be attracted to someone whose words and actions finally match. That sounds simple. It isn't. Consistency is one of the rarest forms of romance. Not because it's dramatic, because it requires discipline. It requires becoming the same person on difficult days that you are on easy ones. Very few people manage that. And when someone finally experiences it, they stop chasing emotional highs. They begin protecting emotional peace. But even emotional peace doesn't answer the deepest question. Because eventually, every relationship reaches a moment where comfort alone isn't enough. A woman quietly asks herself something she may never say out loud. Not, "Do I love him?" but something far more revealing. Can I still recognize myself when I'm with him? The answer to that question often determines whether she simply remains or whether she chooses, again and again, to stay. That question, "Can I still recognize myself when I'm with him?" is one of the most honest questions a woman can ask. Because love can be intoxicating, admiration can be blinding, even chemistry can convince two people they're meant to be together. But identity tells the truth eventually. I've sat with women who loved someone deeply yet quietly admitted, "I don't know who I've become." That sentence carries a kind of sadness that doesn't appear overnight. It grows slowly, one compromise at a time, one swallowed opinion, one apology for existing, one piece of herself quietly set aside because keeping the peace felt easier than speaking honestly. Eventually, she looks in the mirror and realizes she's been surviving the relationship instead of living inside it. Now compare that to something very different. Imagine a younger woman with a man 30 years older. She expects that the age difference will make her feel smaller, that his experience will overshadow hers. She worries he'll treat her like someone who still needs permission to think for herself. Instead, he listens. Not politely, genuinely. When she disagrees with him, he doesn't smile in that dismissive way that says, "You'll understand when you're older." He becomes curious. "Tell me why you see it that way." That one sentence changes everything. Because respect isn't measured by how often two people agree. It's measured by whether both people feel safe enough to disagree. Real emotional intimacy isn't built on identical opinions. It's built on mutual dignity. And dignity has nothing to do with age. It has everything to do with character. One of the biggest misconceptions about large age gap relationships is the assumption that one person must always hold all the power. Sometimes that's true, sometimes it isn't. Healthy relationships are never a contest over who has the final word. They're an ongoing conversation where both people continue influencing each other. I've heard women say something that surprises people. "He didn't try to shape me, he made me feel comfortable becoming more of myself." Read that again in your mind. There's an enormous psychological difference between changing someone and creating an environment where someone naturally grows. One feels like control, the other feels like freedom. That's why emotional maturity can be so attractive, not because it's impressive, because it isn't threatened by another person's independence. An emotionally secure man doesn't panic when a woman has ambitions of her own. He doesn't see her confidence as competition. He doesn't need to shrink her to feel bigger. He understands something many people never learn. Love isn't possession, it's partnership. Now, does every older man understand that? Of course not. Some become more controlling with age, not less. Some confuse experience with superiority. Some believe younger automatically means less intelligent, less capable, less deserving of equal respect. Those relationships often become painful very quickly. Age cannot rescue poor character. It only gives poor character more years to practice itself. That's why I always become cautious when someone says, older men are better. No, some are, some aren't. The same is true for younger men. The number itself tells you almost nothing. What matters is how someone responds when life becomes uncomfortable. That's where personality reveals itself. Think about conflict. Every couple argues. Every couple misunderstands each other. The difference is what happens after. Does one person punish the other with silence? Do they attack each other's character instead of discussing the problem? Or do they eventually return, not because someone wins, but because the relationship matters more than their ego? Those moments shape emotional safety, and emotional safety shapes attachment. Here's something many men never realize. A woman isn't only watching how you treat her when she's happy, she's watching who you become when she's disappointed in you. Can you stay calm without becoming cold? Can you listen without becoming defensive? Can you admit you were wrong without feeling like you've become weak? Those moments leave deeper emotional memories than expensive gifts ever could. Because gifts are remembered, character is felt, and feelings become the stories people quietly carry for years. This is often why a woman stays long after the excitement has settled, not because every day is magical, but because the ordinary days no longer feel emotionally lonely. That's an extraordinary thing, to sit beside someone and not feel alone. Something changes when two people become deeply aware that time is not unlimited. The older partner often understands this through experience. The younger partner may begin to understand it through love. Suddenly, small arguments lose their importance. The need to prove who's right becomes quieter. Moments become more valuable than victories. I've heard women say, "He taught me not by giving advice, but by the way he lived." Not because he had all the answers, because he had learned that attention is one of the greatest gifts we can give another person. When he looked at her, he was truly present. When she spoke, she didn't feel like she was competing with his phone, his ego, or the next distraction. That kind of presence is unforgettable, and she gives something equally meaningful in return. Her curiosity, her energy, her fresh perspective remind him that life is still unfolding, not ending. Healthy relationships, regardless of age, allow both people to grow. One offers perspective, the other offers possibility. Neither is complete without respect. So when people ask, why does she stay when the age gap is 30 years or more? Sometimes the answer isn't hidden in age at all. Sometimes she stays because for the first time in a very long time she feels seen, heard, respected, and free to be exactly who she is. And those feelings are far more powerful than any number on a birth certificate. Yet there is another layer that almost no one talks about. A quieter reason. A reason that has nothing to do with age, attraction, or even compatibility. It's about time. Not the years between them, but the way each of them begins to understand how precious time really is. And that realization changes the way they love each other in ways outsiders almost never notice. Before we finish, I want to leave you with one thought that may stay with you long after this video ends. When people judge a relationship from the outside, they usually count visible things. The years between two birthdays, the wrinkles, the grey hair, the different generations. What they almost never count are the invisible moments that quietly build a life together. The mornings when one person notices the other is unusually quiet and asks, "Are you okay?" without being prompted. The evenings when they disagree, but neither walks away trying to punish the other. The difficult seasons when life becomes uncertain, yet neither person has to question whether they're facing it alone. Those moments don't attract attention, they don't become headlines, but they're often the reason a relationship survives when excitement naturally settles into everyday life. As a psychologist, I've learned something that continues to humble me. People are remarkably poor at predicting what will make someone else feel emotionally at home. We assume attraction follows simple rules. It doesn't. We assume love should always look familiar. It rarely does. Every woman carries her own emotional history. Every man carries his own. Some grew up in homes filled with warmth. Others grew up believing love always came with criticism, unpredictability, or emotional distance. Those early experiences quietly shape what feels comfortable, what feels frightening, and what finally feels healing. That's why no one should assume they know the full story simply by looking at a couple. The healthiest relationships I've seen share something surprisingly ordinary. Neither person spends all their energy trying to become impressive. Instead, they become dependable. Dependability sounds almost boring until you've spent years living without it. Then it becomes one of the most attractive qualities another human being can possess. Because excitement may bring two people together, but emotional reliability gives them a reason to remain. So, if you're watching this as an older man, don't make the mistake of believing your age alone gives you value. It doesn't. Your kindness does. Your emotional discipline does. Your integrity does. The way you treat people when nobody is watching does. Those qualities cannot be borrowed from the passing of time. They have to be earned. And if you're watching this wondering whether a woman could genuinely choose to stay with a man decades older, the answer is the same as it is for every healthy relationship. She won't stay because of a number. She'll stay because of an experience. The experience of feeling respected instead of managed, heard instead of dismissed, safe instead of anxious, accepted instead of constantly evaluated. Those experiences leave marks on the heart that are invisible to everyone else. So the next time you see a couple with 30 years between them, resist the temptation to finish their story before you've even heard the first chapter. Maybe they're together for reasons you would never expect. Maybe they've built something quiet in a world that rewards noise. Or maybe they've simply discovered what so many people spend their entire lives searching for. A relationship where neither person has to pretend. Where conversations become a place of rest instead of performance. Where love isn't measured by appearances, but by the peace two people create whenever they walk through life side by side. And perhaps that's the real truth. Not that age stops mattering. It does matter. Life stages, future plans, health, family expectations, and practical realities all deserve honest conversations. Strong relationships don't ignore those differences. They face them together with openness and mutual respect. But when two emotionally mature people continue choosing each other with clear eyes, genuine respect, and shared commitment, the question slowly changes. It stops being, "Why is she still with him?" and becomes, "What have they found in each other that so many people are still looking for?" Sometimes the deepest love stories are the ones that make the least sense to strangers, and the most sense to the two people living them. And those are the stories worth understanding before they're judged.